What's the weirdest trip you've ever done? Have you ever done a trip with a bizarre idea behind it? It's a dream of many an avid traveller for a journey based on some wild flight of fancy that has no real logic behind it and is purely about the adventure of seeing the world. That's the kind of adventure told in the book The 10 Four-Letter Countries by David Jenkins. Published in 2008, the book tells of Jenkins' adventure to visit all 10 countries with 4 letters in the common English name. Those countries are Oman, Togo, Peru, Mali, Laos, Chad, Cuba, Fiji, Iraq, and Iran. A nice round number. It starts with a sleepless night with random thoughts running through his head, culminating in the one that triggers everything. How many countries have 4 letters in their name? After interrogating the Collins World Atlas, he had his answer and was able to go to bed having decided that all of them needed to be visited. The quest starts in Oman, the sparsely populated sultanate on the tip of the Arabian Peninsula. The capital, Muscat, wasn't the buzzing metropolis that many of its neighbours were quickly becoming, so a cheap taxi took him to Nizwa, where he gets lost in the old town and souk. He then moves on to the Musandam Peninsula, the disconnected part of Oman that is now one of the most important places on earth. Then, the biggest danger was getting tyres stuck in the sand, and the waters of the straits provided some of the best diving in the world. There was even a friendly encounter with Iranian smugglers. Togo in West Africa came next, entering from Ghana and beginning in the city of Kapamleme, learning from a moped rider with a degree just how bad employment prospects were in the country. A trip to the capital Lomé led to Lake Togo and Togoville, the original capital. Needless to say, the country was devoid of memorable sights and landmarks. Peru was blessed with the majesty of Machu Picchu and the stunning elegance of Cusco, but there's a lot of good to be said about Lima, especially the waterfront area of Miraflores. Cusco came next, along with the trip to Urubamba, but fighting the altitude sickness was the challenge to experience the incredible sight of the former Inca stronghold, hidden away in the Andes. Mali, another West African country, started in the capital Bamako, another city with little to see for the curious visitor. 3 days in a minibus tracking the Niger River led to the mythical city of Timbuktu, famous for its mud-walled mosques. Laos was next, where a weirdly slow taxi ride took him into Luang Prabang, the city favoured by Western backpackers. The food got particular mention, as did the natural beauty of the Tatsay waterfalls of the Nam Khan River, and the Pak U caves, and the mysterious prehistorical plain of jars in Phonsavan. The capital Vientiane, not so much. Chad in Central Africa may have been the most problematic, partly down to the lack of any travel guides available, and getting there seems to have been an adventure itself. The only other visitors in N'Djamena were on corporate or NGO business. The only alternative city was Abeche, but the bureaucracy of travel there seems like the exact reason why tourism still hasn't taken off in the country. Then came Cuba, that sanction-enforced poverty-stricken island that continues to be the bane of its much larger neighbour. Initial disappointment with the food and run-down waterfront of Havana gave way to the stunning natural beauty of the interior, enjoyed on a saddle and 2 wheels, though the infamous Bay of Pigs is described as pig ugly. The World Heritage town of Trinidad was a highlight. Fiji was probably the most remote of the destinations. It was not long after the military coup and the troops were out, but it seemed relatively safe. The trip was a series of island hops starting in Savu Savu on Vanua Levu, staying with a British couple who had relocated from Spain and eventually having to deal with his wallet and passport being stolen, a crime serious enough to get the entire island police out hunting for the items and the culprit. Iraq was very much a limited trip, staying firmly in the relatively safe northern part of Kurdistan and never heading so much as one step across the southern border into the more turbulent part of the country. The biggest adventure was crossing by bus to get to Iran, only to be refused entry and having to go all the way to Turkey and in through the back door. Iran brought him back full circle, just across the now pressing Strait of Hormuz from Oman. He crossed the country from the Caspian Sea, passing through Tehran, Isfahan, Shiraz, Persepolis and Yazd, enjoying the mix of local hospitality, natural beauty and state propaganda. Some of these are countries many people would gladly have on their bucket list. Cuba, Peru and Fiji have long had well-established tourism industries, and as is always popular with the backpacker brigade, but the rest are very much beyond the pale for even the most adventurous of adventurers. David Jenkins' story is the kind that most avid travellers would love to have the courage to try, but most know they would never dare to take the leap. Wild destinations that aren't even covered by the normal guidebooks is the kind of crazy experience many of us dream of. But in reality, we're nowhere near as brave or resourceful to pull it off. The narrative is straightforward. There's no flowery or poetic prose to build the alien worlds we're introduced to. The focus is on the people he meets and the lives they live, rather than any flights of fancy the author feels with a new flavour or the sight of a magical architectural detail. This is an enjoyable tale of random challenge one man set himself, for no reason other than it seemed like a fun idea. There was no ultimate goal or particular achievement at the end of the story, just 10 countries with the flimsiest of connections and completely different cultures, histories, and experiences. If you want to read an engaging, down to earth, and enviable tale of travelling the world for the sake of travelling the world, then The 10 Four-Letter Countries by David Jenkins is a pretty good book to read.